In this video today, we're going to explore Fishers, Indiana a little bit, and we're going to get into 6 things that would take some time to get to know about Fishers. So we'll cover those 6 in this video to help speed up your learning, shorten the learning curve a little bit for Fishers, and help you get to know it a little bit faster. So these 6 things can be used if you're coming into Fishers to explore it as a possibility, as a place to live. You might be exploring some other suburbs around Indianapolis as well, maybe Brownsburg or Greenwood or Carmel, Westfield, Noblesville. But Fishers is certainly large enough, and it's actually kind of surprising to people when they get here how large Fishers really is. It's just over 100,000 people, and it does cover some ground. So when you're exploring Fishers, or any of the suburbs for that matter, but in this video specifically Fishers, these 6 things will help you realize some patterns to the different parts of Fishers. So number 1 is that there isn't an official border between the two. There isn't an official designation at all between these parts of Fishers. But there is absolutely, without a doubt, in my mind, a West Fishers and an East Fishers. And it's not like one is better than the other. It's certainly not like that at all. In fact, both are really quite great. And me personally, I would live in either East Fishers or West Fishers. But if you're looking up the difference between West Fishers and East Fishers, you're not going to find anything, because Fishers is Fishers. That's it. It's just one city. But I will talk to people quite often about how there's a difference between the east side and the west side. Just like over in Carmel, I've done a video like this before in the past where, and in many videos, talked about the differences between West Carmel and East Carmel, but there's no official designation to it whatsoever. So East Fishers, the difference between that and West Fishers, we'll get into some of the detail of it. But first, we want to get into what the border really looks like, at least in my mind, between the two. All right, so we take a look at the map here. And of course, Fishers is on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Indianapolis is this large square for the most part. And 465 doesn't go all the way around Indianapolis. There's some space. And you can see even some space here between 465 and Fishers. This is all Indianapolis through here. So if you were to go through there, drive through there, look at the address of any of the places around there, you're going to see Indianapolis, even though you're outside of the loop. So that's what we call 465. And I think that's what a lot of cities around the country call their bypass interstate. So we look here in Fishers, and this is on Google Maps, so it's a little bit confusing with all of these little spots on the interior of Fishers, but generally the border you can see over here to the west, it's actually the White River, which snakes its way through here and then actually goes down into and through Indianapolis. It's actually a super long river. And then across the southern border of Fishers, for the most part, we have 96th Street until we get over here to Geist Reservoir. And then we have to go around that and then continue on with 96th Street. When you get out here to the east, it can get just a little bit fuzzier, and it can get a little bit fuzzier here to the north. So more about that in just a little bit. When we're taking a look at the difference between East Fishers and West Fishers, they're actually pretty different in their size. And there's a pretty good reason for that, honestly. So to me, in my mind, West Fishers is any part of Fishers along I-69. So this border right here, and then not following I-69 to the northeast, but going up State Road 37. And once you get north all the way up here, this is all Noblesville, or at least part of Noblesville. Noble's still actually pretty large itself. But over here on this particular side, I consider this West Fishers, and then anything over here, I really consider East Fishers. Again, no designation for that whatsoever, and you might even find some people that would argue with me. But I've got some pretty good reasons as to why there's a difference between the two. So when we look over here in West Fishers, this is original Fishers. And Fishers now, in the time this video is being made, it's closing in on 102,000 people. That's quite a few people now for Fishers. But if you look back in 1990, there were barely 7,500 people in Fishers. 1990. And of course, now we're getting into the fact that that's just over 30 years ago. But from 1990 to 2000, it grew to about 36 or so thousand people. And then it doubled in the next 10 years to 2010 at close to 75,000 people. So a lot of Fishers is really 20-ish or just over that years old. And then the rest of Fishers is older than that. But when you look at 1980 and all the way back to 1970, there were less than 1,000 people in Fishers. So most of this part of Fishers on the west is much older than what you have here on the east side. So that brings me to number 2. West Fishers tends to be older than East Fishers. So again, with this border between the west and the east, you're going to find, for the most part, with some exceptions here and there, of course, is that this whole portion of Fishers was, for the most part, built before the year 2000. This is original Fishers. And when you get down into the downtown area of Fishers, you can get a lot of new construction through there, but a lot of the homes surrounding that entire area, those are all very new. So let's take a look at that. This whole area here is kind of the original Fishers. So here's the downtown area, and a lot of little businesses are going to pop up. Here's where the amphitheater is. And this is one of the unfortunate things when people are exploring Fishers, or if I'm with them or we're out seeing some homes, and we'll go east or west down 116th Street and pass right through this whole downtown area. You can see a lot of it, but unfortunately, quite a bit of the downtown area is actually back in here off of 116th Street, so you can't really see it. You have to pull in off Municipal Drive or over here off any one of these side streets or Commercial Drive or Lantern and drive back through here. And especially to come back here and see the nickel plate amphitheater, it is unbelievable. That is a phenomenal place. It blows, as far as outdoor amphitheaters go, blows everyone else away with the exception of Ruoff in Noblesville, but that one's gigantic. So this is more of your community type amphitheater that you have free concerts, family friendly, that sort of thing. But all of this downtown area is, of course, very, very new right now, but it's attached to a lot of this older part of Fishers. So this neighborhood here, Sunblest, this is an enormous neighborhood. It really, for the most part, covers this entire area here. And if we outline that, with some exceptions up here in this particular part, but it is huge, pretty much this entire area. Most of the homes in this area were certainly built before 1990. And if we just get into taking a look at some of these homes, let's get rid of this. Some of these homes that are currently on the market in Fishers, this is everything that's out there right now, just about 101, yeah, exactly 101 homes. We look at this one, 1980. We look at this one, 1976. Now, as I said, you're going to have some exceptions here and there, like this 825. This one's brand new, built in 2022, or at least really close to new, just a year and a half or so old. But this is actually in a neighborhood where a lot of much older homes have been torn down. A lot of homes that were built in the 50s and 60s and really part of original Fishers. So this location is just incredible because you can walk to everything in downtown Fishers from there. So of course, you're going to have some of these homes that are very old and not in great shape anymore. They'll sell them and tear them down and build something new. Here's 1996. So this is kind of the newer part of old Fishers, and it's about as new as you can possibly get, rolling all the way through there. Here's another one here in Cambridge. 335, built in 1980. So once we get up here a little bit further north, it really rings true and about the same. This one here, 1998. So again, just before that 2000 border. Now, if you remember, I told you that 37 and down 69 right through here, this would be the border between West Fishers and East Fishers in my mind. This little portion right here, some people might say, well, that's actually really part of West Fishers too. In my mind, it's not, because this is really a lot of neighborhoods that are part of that explosive growth from 2000 to 2010, where Fishers grew about 400% in its population. So 2002, and then you get over here, Van Buren. I was actually in this house not that long ago. This would be one of the exceptions. Or I'm sorry, not one of the exceptions, but past 2000, 2012. So a really good example. It's just a little bit newer, only about a little over 10 years old or so. We get in here to this one, Sweetbriar, 2002. So all of these homes, for the most part, it's almost 100%. All of these homes are built past the year 2000. So it's definitely getting newer as we get out here further to the east in Fishers. And as you get further east, way out here, where a lot of new construction's happening, like, that was a bad example, and so is that one. Those are properties that have been there a little while. Here's one that was built in 2020. Brand new neighborhood called Turnberry. Very, very new neighborhood, super nice neighborhood too. A lot of really super mega modern homes. 2019 out here. We get 799. This one's actually not even built just yet in Geist Manor. This one is 2024 when it's going to be completed. So extremely new once you get out here further to the east compared to the west. So one of those differences when you're exploring, when you're going from place to place, and one of the ways that you can explore is that we can give you places of interest to go and try to figure out what Fishers looks like, what its personality is like, what it has as far as parks and attractions, and it just makes up that overall feel for Fishers. But we can also give you specific neighborhoods to visit. And it's difficult to find neighborhoods because they don't have addresses, but we can put together a list of addresses for you to get you into specific neighborhoods based on what you need. So if you tell us you like brand new construction, you're probably not going to be in the western part of Fishers very much. It's just not all that new. Doesn't mean you don't need to know about it and learn about it and figure out what's there, because if you live in Fishers, you'll visit West Fishers probably fairly often, because downtown Fishers is there and a lot of restaurants are in there too. You got Fishers District, which is just east of 116th Street, right here in this area. So if we bring this up, you can see just how commercial all of this is. This is the IKEA right here. Here's the Topgolf right here, just on that corner of 69 and 116th. And then Fishers District, the yard at Fishers District is right here where most of the restaurants in Fishers really are, at least a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of the nicer restaurants and places that people want to go. Even though that's on the east side of 69, it's over here toward the west. So this brings us to our next point about Fishers. So the third is that since East Fishers is newer than West Fishers, the homes are generally, on average, even though this isn't a hard, fast rule perfect, but it's probably 90% or so or more in accuracy on any point of the year that you're actually looking at this, is that East Fishers is more expensive than West Fishers. So if we take a look at this on the map, just on average, let's bring this back over to the road map just so it's a little bit easier to see. The homes that are currently on the market right now, you can see over here in the west, generally, I mean, you get some anomalies here and there, like this 825, but that's an ultra contemporary, brand new house. You can see there's not a lot of traditional about this particular place, and the location is, boy, for Fishers, it's pretty amazing. So you're going to pay a pretty penny for a house that looks like that, and also for its location too. But then some of these other ones, like 310, this I clicked on just earlier, just for that age, 1996, 3-bed, 2-bath, just over 1,200 square feet. That is not a very big home, of course. It may be all you need, which is fantastic, because then this could be a really good price range to get into what's really an unbelievable location for Fishers. You can walk to everything right there in downtown Fishers. These are all actually condos, so that's a little bit different, and that's something that pushes that price down, although the HOA fees can push the price up per month. Here's one that is that anomaly as far as the age go, just past 2004, but not terribly expensive. So again, most of these are built before 2000 with some exceptions here and there. You get over here, and this one, built in 1994, 350. And again, it's a reasonable size house, 3-bed, 2-bath, close to 1,900 square feet, and actually in a really great location, just plunked right down there in the western part of Fishers, really close to Carmel. It's close to 69. It's just a great location. So you can get some really nice houses. Sometimes they might need some updating. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they've been updated pretty nicely. It just depends on your taste, and you can get a reasonably priced house in West Fishers. The issue, though, of course, with West Fishers is just that it's not very big. So at any given time, you're not looking at really all that many homes on the market. And especially if you're looking for a single family home and you take a look at all these dots on here, it can be a little bit deceiving, because a lot of these are condos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 condos. They're in that neighborhood alone. And then the rest, for the most part, are single family homes. I think there might be one other condo in here, but not very expensive, not very big. We get over here to the east, and remember this little portion up here, I consider the east. On average, just looking at these, it's already a little bit more expensive. Now, you do get a little bit more with these houses. So the other ones, if you remember, they're 3-bedroom. Well, now we've got a 4th bedroom, 2-bath, and just over 2,000 square feet. In fact, this one has a 3-car garage, listed at $430. This one's at $325, but it's also 4-bed, 2-bath, 2.5, and at 2,000 square feet. So while on average the price is going up, although this one is not, but on average the price is going up, over here on the east side, you're getting a little bit more. So you're at least very likely getting some more square footage. You're very likely also going to get an extra bedroom in there too. But these aren't giant houses through here. They're reasonable in their size, and that may be all you need, which is fantastic, because then that keeps the price down. But looking a little further to the east, and you'll notice that the prices, they don't go down. You get some anomalies through here, of course, like this $299, but that is not a single family house. That's actually a condo. Over here out to the east, 450, 625, 550, 710, and that was the one I just showed you not that long ago, 695. This one's an unusual property built in 1890. So this is someone just selling the farmhouse, maybe to be torn down, maybe to be renovated. Pretty unique little spot there. But that used to be just 100% farmland, of course, whenever that was built. There was really nothing around in Fishers outside of the settlement before 1900, before Fishers was even settled. Pretty amazing. Of course, here along the water, this is Geist District, and this is a super, super pretty part of Fishers. Really, really nice. And of course, you can get some unbelievably nice homes going through here too. And this one here is actually a little bit strange at $8.2 million. They don't usually get this expensive, but this is a pretty unbelievable house. I mean, just really super, super nice, and really quite large too. We're talking 7 beds, almost 16,000 square feet, built in 2005, and it's not on the water. It's actually off the water on this big property just off Brooks School Road, close to it. But when you get on the water, this is usually a little bit more of what you can expect. just over $2 million. And of course, another pretty phenomenal home here too. Almost 12,000 square feet. That's a big home. You can get, and those aren't on the main body. This one, in fact, at 5.2 is on the water, but it's kind of neat because it's on one of these private little fingers coming off of the main body. But it doesn't take that in order to be on the water. Here's 2 million right on the water. Here's 1.8 with access to the water. Although when you're in the back of this home, it'll feel like you live on the water, even though you don't own that waterfront property except for just that little sliver where your boat slip is likely right here. But that's amazing. And that's at 1.8. Pretty close to 1.8, 1.75. So expensive. You're not going to find any $2, $3, or certainly $8 million homes over on the west side of Fishers at all. There's 920. That one's not built yet. That one's actually brand new construction. You get in here, and these are all very, very new, built in 2022 at 505. That's actually really nice. So almost 3,200 square feet, 4-bed for 500, close to 500. That's not bad, not bad. But the whole price on the east side of Fishers is definitely going to get a little bit higher as you push out that way. And if you're looking at listings online, I'm sure it's a pattern that you probably have noticed. The next point you'll notice about Fishers whenever you visit is that it's pretty similar to Indianapolis and Carmel and Westfield and Noblesville to some extent too, is that it's pretty easy to get around because it's pretty easy to learn just the overall layout of a place like Fishers because it's grid-like in a majority of the roads. That doesn't hold true for all of Fishers, but if you take a look at the map, and we said before that 96th Street was the southern border. So this is 96th Street going all the way over here, except this giant lake, this giant reservoir gets in the way. So you have to go around that. And you can see one of the bridges right here that you have to cross. You can't just cross this anywhere you want unless you have a boat. So you have to do it over here at Oleo. You have to do it right here at Fall Creek, which is essentially 96th Street continued from one side to the other. Or you have to go around the south side of it, around the Geist Dam. So 96th Street, it's probably a little easier to see on this. There's 96th Street, and you can follow that from the White River generally. Well, that's not very straight. All the way across. And then we've got 106th Street going over and continuing a little on that side, although it's 104th visibly on this map over here. And then we've got 116th Street right here, 126th Street right here, 131st, 141st, and then you get up here to 146th Street as well. So all of the numbered streets, it's easy. You know how far north you are, you know how far south you are. Generally, 146th Street is close to the northern border of Fishers, although it's a little bit wonky sometimes, and then 96th Street is the south. So if you're at 116th Street, you know you're pretty close to the center of Fishers. If you're at 141st, you know you're towards the northern border. And then when you get into some of the north-south roads, like Hague Road, Lantern Road, right here, which actually goes right through the downtown area of Fishers. State Road 37, which is a very, very prominent road for Noblesville and Fishers. Cumberland, right here, all the way down to 96th Street. Howe is less so, but it's one of the north-south roads. Brook School Road is definitely one of the more prominent roads. And then Oleo. If you know just really these roads, I would say Oleo, Cumberland, Lantern, and maybe Hague through here. These would be tremendously helpful in knowing where you are. So the numbered streets, easy. You can learn that really in just a few seconds. But then these other roads, east, west. So if we're talking about a house, it's east of Olio, you know it's pretty far east. That's way out here in this particular part of Fishers. And you can put into your mind, well, that's usually on average more expensive than West Fishers. It's certainly newer than almost any other part of Fishers too. And it has a very different feel out there as well. But grid-like can absolutely help with that exploration an awful, awful lot. So I mentioned that East Fishers has a pretty different feel when you're really far out here to the east, looking at that newer home in the newer part of Fishers. It is absolutely true. There are multiple different feelings that you're probably going to get, or different looks that you're going to get when you're in different parts of Fishers. All right, so when we divide up West Fishers versus East Fishers, when you are in this western part of Fishers over here, this is a lot more, for the most part, mature, and it might be easier to see on this map. So there are a lot of trees and a lot of dense tree cover around some of the neighborhoods. So this was that sun-blessed neighborhood. And looking through here, just trees, 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 lots of shade, a lot of sidewalks that you can walk on all around this Holland Park. Now, Holland Park isn't terribly shaded through here. It is right here. There's actually a pretty neat little spot. But all along the White River, it's very dense. All these neighborhoods, a lot of tree cover going through there. And as you're driving through, that's essentially what you're going to notice. And as you get a little further to the south, it's really exactly the same. A lot of maturity, a lot of trees, and of course it's been there a while to get some of that maturity going. A lot of those homes, again, so most of them were built before the year 2000, so they've been there, some of them 50 years, and so those trees that were planted 50 years ago are really mature now. This is actually Ritchie Woods. You can just see the parking lot here. This is a preserve, and it's protected woodland, and there are a lot of hiking trails going back and through there. It's super cool, super awesome. It's not gigantic, but a neat place to go. So it's kind of old Fishers and what it really looked like before a lot of it was taken over by businesses, houses, and things along those lines. Over here is Connor Prairie going up Allisonville Road, which is pretty close to the western border of Fishers. It's not the exact border. Bring that up. The border here is the White River, for the most part, between West Fishers and East Carmel. But Allisonville Road is the last road that you can really travel from the north to the south of Fishers, and really all the way through. It's a transient road, but it is a beautiful road to drive up and down, and I really recommend you do that if you are visiting Fishers, just to see what that looks like and that feel. You can see it's not straight, it has a little curvature to it, but it'll go right along Connor Prairie right here, which is that's an awesome place. It's a living history museum, so this is really where the first settlement by William Connor before 1900 happened for Fishers, when you're talking about 5 to 10 people being here and settling Fishers. But it's also a place that, living history museum, so a lot of field trips are there. There's a hot air balloon here that can take people up, I think pretty much all year long, but certainly during spring, summer, and fall. There's also an amphitheater. Oh, here's the hot air balloon right here, right there. So it's tethered. So they send you up on a line about 500 feet, and you hang out up there for a few minutes and then come back down. This is their amphitheater. Symphony on the Prairie. There'll be thousands of people out here for Connor Prairie and Symphony on the Prairie. They do all kinds of different shows with Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, and some other bands come through. That is a neat, neat place to go in the summer. But it's all just very, very mature out here and looks really different than what you're going to have when you get out here in the eastern part of Fishers. You get a mix in eastern Fishers. It's not really all uniform going through there. So first of all, you got the maturity over here in the western side, but you also have some energy on that western side. No matter where you live on the western part of Fishers, you are so incredibly close to everything. You are close to 69, you're close to State Road 37 to get up into Noblesville. You're close to these other north-south roads, including Allisonville, to get down to Indianapolis, and this whole huge commercial area of Indianapolis in Castleton. So incredibly fast. There are grocery stores through this particular part of Fishers and other shops. You are literally 5 minutes or less from so many things. And when you're going through there and driving through Fishers, the western part, you'll notice that you are very, very close to a lot of those things. It doesn't feel like it's far away because it is not far away. When you get out here to the east, this part, you can get to a situation where it feels a little bit like that. You feel like you're out there in some places. Some parts, like this sort of no man's land, but what I consider part of East Fishers because it's newer than 2000, this can feel very suburban. So when you hear about suburban sprawl in a lot of places, and suburban sprawl started around that 2000 mark when a lot of places were really growing. Well, this is where a lot of those new homes were built, and it started to get a little bit of that feel. Now, Fishers has done a nice job in halting that, trying to halt that. It's not going to be perfect, of course, but that's when, or at least shortly after, some years after, the downtown area and the attention of the downtown area really started to move along. Carmel started to do it, where they were experiencing a little bit of that suburban sprawl, and they needed to build a place or have a place, a cultural heart for their city. And Fishers has followed right along with what Carmel has done, and they've done a really nice job with it. So some of that has stopped that feel. And then the good news about this particular part in that suburban sprawl feel is that Noblesville has grown so much. So this particular part of Noblesville and Hamilton Town Center, which is in this area, this whole area is an enormous shopping complex, and a tremendous amount happens right through there. So if we come back over to this map, Saxony Hospital, there's several hospitals up this way actually. This is all Hamilton Town Center, big outdoor mall, a lot of really good restaurants through there too. You've got a wholesale club there, even though this one's not Costco or Sam's Club, it's BJ's, which is another giant one. But a lot of really good places to go. My wife and I will go here, and even with the kids too, we'll come up through here and go through a restaurant every now and then. Ruoff Mortgage Center, or Ruoff Music Center. It's Ruoff Mortgage Music Center. We still call it Deer Creek. If you've lived in Indianapolis long enough, at least since the 90s, this used to be Deer Creek Music Center. It wasn't sponsored, didn't have a corporate sponsorship, so that's what it's called. You can see Klipsch Music Center right up here. That was the old corporate sponsor. Ruoff is newer. And then Verizon Wireless Music Center right there. It used to be Verizon as well. So these corporate names just come and go. But Deer Creek, that was the one that's original, and it's stuck with a lot of people. This place is gigantic. I don't know exactly how many it can seat, but it's close to 30,000 or so. So whether you're a fan or not, but just to give you an idea of the scale of the place, Dave Matthews Band, huge band, enormous band across the country. They spend, when they're on tour, 2 nights at this music center every single year. And usually it's in June or July, kind of the end of June, early July, somewhere in there. 2 nights, and they sell out both nights. But just to give you an idea of how big a show they can actually put on there. But that is all now, of course, this has been there a while, and this used to be just farmland all around this back in the 90s. It used to really be out there in the sticks. But all of this has popped up. And then all of these homes that went up right in that explosion after 2000, it now doesn't have the same feel as that suburban sprawl because you've got all these businesses that have popped up around 37, all that stuff up there, like I mentioned. But as we're driving around, let's say we go and see 7 or 8 houses through these areas, You may not see a grocery store. You may not see another restaurant or something like that through there. And it can get into your head thinking that, wow, are we really way out there? The truth is you are not. Now, you're close to everything still. Now, as you get further out here to the east, this particular part of Fishers is also really mature and has a different feel than what you get when you get way out east. This is a little bit more like West Fishers in its maturity, but of course, the price definitely goes up in this area around Geist. Now, people ask about Geist quite a bit. Geist is accessible to the public, but it's a little bit difficult to get onto unless you just live right on the water. There's a public boat ramp right up here in this area, pretty close to Geist Waterfront Park. You can get on there. There's a really neat boat ramp back over here at Geist Park where you can put kayaks in and things like that and then go down Fall Creek and get into the reservoir that way. I've seen a lot of people do that. You can, of course, go over here to the marina, Geist Marina, right off Fall Creek Road. This is where a lot of boats are moored throughout the year, and they can store those things for you too. But outside of that, you don't have a tremendous number. If you have a boat, especially a ski boat or something, you are really looking at the public boat ramp here, or you're looking at Geist Marina. Outside of that, it's a lot of private property going all the way around it. But the feel of it is tremendous. It is a beautiful, beautiful area of Fishers. Now, as you get out here further to the east, this whole area is very new. So some of that grid-like feel with the roads, it begins to go away. So as you're out here exploring and driving up and down some of these roads, especially like this Southeastern Parkway, you could take 146th Street down through Hamilton Town Center and take it all the way to the east here, and it will change dramatically, the feel. It'll feel like you're going through some farmland through here with some new construction homes here and there and some neighborhoods. And then you'll dead end at Southeast Parkway at 113th Street, and then it'll continue on over here at Merrill Street to get into downtown Fortville. All of this area feels very rural. It feels like it's way out there. Now, in reality, is it? It's not. It's not way out there. It's still relatively close to a lot of things. For example, if you're out here at Cynthia Ann Park, or if you're at 113th and Southeastern Parkway, if you're in this particular location, you'd think, I'm not really close to anything, but you could scoot right on down here into Fortville very easily. You could go down 113th, and this Kroger Marketplace, there's actually a lot of stuff right here. Grocery store, Kroger's a huge grocery store, a lot of shops, a lot of little restaurants right up and down Oleo. And this, by the way, is Hamilton Southeastern High School, right there along Oleo as well. You can see it, and there are a lot of little schools going through there, like Fall Creek Elementary, Fall Creek Intermediate, Fall Creek Junior High School, all through there. Not the only elementary schools, but it's an example of some. But out this way, very rural. It's not going to be that way for long. In fact, Fishers has expanded to the east so much, it's really perked up Fortville. Fortville is a place that's growing, and I've done videos about this and Fortville specifically. And then when you get a little bit to the east, like this red line here, this is the border, the eastern border of Fishers. This Lennar neighborhood at Springbrook, this has a Pendleton address, which is pretty shocking to a lot of people a lot of times, because Pendleton, when you look at it on the map, is way over here to the east. But Pendleton is another town that's growing, and I've got a video about Pendleton that's been released, and you can check that out if you're interested in a place like that, because Pendleton is a pretty neat place to get an affordable home that's not that far away. From this particular exit here, it's roughly 10 minutes or so to get back to this area where Saxony, Hamilton Town Center, they're all located, and then Ruoff Music Center. That is not that far going up and down there. But Pendleton has grown to the point, even though if you're out here looking, this is all going to look like farmland, trees, and just not extremely settled, not extremely developed. But Pendleton does make its way all the way back here to the west. So it's pretty amazing the difference in the feel that you'll get in this part of Pendleton, this part of Fishers, compared to some of these other parts of Fishers. But you have to explore and try to figure out what feel you like the best and also what you notice too. These are just some general observations that I've got over the years about Fishers and some of the general things that I can tell people as to what you're probably going to see. The very last thing about Fishers is that the borders of Fishers aren't always, and I've kind of mentioned this in some of the other ones, the borders of Fishers aren't exactly always clear. So when you get over here to the east, that's a pretty good example. It's not like it has this perfect north-south border going where you could just draw it straight on a line from the north to the south. You have Atlantic Road here, and you can literally stand in this neighborhood, look across the street and look at homes in Fishers, or you could be in this neighborhood, look across the street and you'll be looking at homes in Pendleton. So when you get further south of that though, then you get into an area, kind of a mishmash of homes that are either in Fishers or some homes that are in Fortville. And then you can even get into a situation where the school system can get a little bit confusing, where you might have a Fortville address, but you might be in Hamilton Southeastern Schools, which actually is part of that is Fishers School. So Fishers High School, Hamilton Southeastern High School are both Hamilton Southeastern schools, but then of course all the Fishers elementary schools, they're all part of that too. Now again, when you get down here to 96th Street, generally this border holds true all the way from the east back to the west and the White River. The White River generally holds true for the western border of Fishers. Now the White River is the border between Carmel and Fishers, but you can't cross a river just anywhere you want to, and I think everybody knows that. You can take a bridge here across 96th Street where you can get across. 106, no. 106 dead ends right here into this Fishers Heritage Park at White River, which is a really neat little park, but you can do some hiking back in here right along the White River and some trails. Carmel also has a park on the other side of the river, and it's pretty smart to put parks right along the river because it's floodplain and you can't really build a whole lot down there near the river. Then we come up here to 116th Street and you can get across the White River. And then the next crossing, past 126, past 131st, and notice these dead end into Allisonville Road. The next crossing is up here at 146th Street. So there's only 3 bridges across the White River that connect Carmel and Fishers. Now that sounds inconvenient, but shockingly, it's really not that inconvenient when you're traveling from one to the other. You'll get used to that. But then as you get here along 146th Street, it sure would be nice to just call that the northern border of Fishers, but you'll find that it's not. Like 146th Street turns into this campus parkway in Hamilton Town Center, Noblesville. And this is actually something kind of confusing to a lot of people that I think live in Noblesville and Fishers. They'll call Hamilton Town Center Fishers, and it's not. That's part of Noblesville, not part of Fishers. But as you get through here, it does get a little bit goofy, and I think the border that they show in Google Maps here is a little bit more accurate outside of all of these little strange spots in the middle. But you come down into 136th Street, and then it follows 69 across until you get over to Atlantic Road, which does not, by the way, have an exit. It dead ends right there at 69. You can't get off of 69 there or enter the interstate, but that's where the eastern border of Fishers is. So it goes really right along this 136th Street, down around the south side of Hamilton Town Center, up to 141st, and then eventually back over to 146th Street. So the border on the northern side is a little bit angled. So confusing to a lot of people, and confusing to me sometimes if I look at an address. I know a lot of the neighborhoods through there, so over the years of doing this, I now know if it's Fishers or Noblesville, but I'll run into one occasionally where, like, ooh, is that Noblesville or Fishers? I got to just make sure and check myself just to be safe. But if people are looking for homes by the city, you can actually miss some of these homes if you're not searching for homes by school system. So if you want to be in Hamilton Southeastern schools, which are the schools for Fishers, then you probably need to be searching for houses in there, not just Fishers, because you could lose out on some, or potentially get the search a little bit discombobulated if you're not doing that. And so you can reach out and I can explain that a little bit more, but that's probably a little bit more efficient way to be searching for things. So there you go. There are 6 different points about Fishers that would take a little while to know living there before it's something that is just going to be second nature to you. These things are kind of second nature to me now, but I've been around Fishers. I lived in Fishers for 11 years, so certainly picked up a lot then. But if you have any questions about Fishers at all, and again, we can put together for your exploration something like this in more detail, where it gives you an itinerary of places to go, neighborhoods to see that are tailored and personalized for you based on what you might know from this video, and then of course what you need as far as your housing is concerned. Don't hesitate to reach out. We'll always have your back with that itinerary. We'll always have your back with any questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to move to Fishers or anywhere in the Indianapolis metro. And we'll catch you in the next one.